Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you for all attending today's session. We're going to be talking, and I gotta start the session off by saying that we lied to you. Today's discussion, you were told that it's top 10 ways to convert prospects to customers. It actually is converting prospects to partners. But if we said, we discussed it a bit, and we said if we put partners in there, we're going to have a crowd filled with lawyers, and we didn't want that. So honestly, that is true, though. When we refer to customers, it's really in the partnership sense. And you're going to see that throughout the talk in terms of why we use that type of vocabulary. But before we start, I'd like for us to do a little bit of an exercise. Can everyone humor me and just close your eyes? All of you, please. I can see your eyes, Mike. If you close your eyes. All right, now I want you to think of a few stories that I'm going to tell you. Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel, Transformers, Romeo and Juliet, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Open your eyes. So, most of those images resonated with when I told you those stories, and was that the depiction that you saw? Probably not exactly. But Red Riding Hood had a red hood, basket, wolf. Hansel and Gretel had a gingerbread house, or in German, what is it called, Mike? We had Romeo and Juliet on the balcony and Transformers, everybody knows. And Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? This is kind of one of my favorite movies of all time, so Clooney was outstanding in that. But the point I'm trying to make is marketers talk about branding and they talk about all these complex terms. But at the end of the day, it's about storytelling. And stories replace brand. Brand replaced story because it became easier for marketers to sell. But at the end of the day, humans transfer information from historically speaking, through storytelling. And that's what I want the takeaway to be today, is that everyone has a story to tell. Let me speak to that further. Here's marketers at their best, right? Now we talk about narratives. Narrative is just another word for story. So my brand story is a bit like this. I got a home, and I have a car, and that's me. Unfortunately, today I didn't get a cup of coffee, though. But how I explain my home is through my brands that I associate my home with. My car and me, in terms of the brands that make up who I am and what I drink, don't judge me, that's that's the sum of my story, of my brand. Now, what's key there is brand me. When people tell you that, you're a company and you're trying to make people buy your brand, you really can't do that. You need to make people have an affinity to your brand and then adopt that. And here's why. Brand me. This is the stuff that makes me. Well, brand enablers. I associate with those brands, and if they always are dependable and I'm always getting satisfaction from them, I will be loyal. And I need to fulfill those brands all the time, whether it's through servicing the stuff in my home, if they're high-involved items, or if they're consumables, I'm buying them all the time. I have brand enablers that help me get my brands, and that's where the other parts of the industry come in. And we've got service companies, fulfillment companies that help enable those brands get to market. Now, what we need to understand is, if that's my brand and I'm telling the story, how can I get that story out to a larger audience? And really, that's where my brand enablers come in. And a lot of people talk about social media and how to use it. But all social media is giving you platforms and conversations to tell your story. And that's really the premise of what we're going to talk about today. Don't worry, it's not a social media talk. Social media is one of the tools that we're going to talk about in terms of leveraging it to make your story more successful, and in the process, create partnerships with your customers and generate growth for your company or yourself. So what the key takeaway there is, though, your story is going to be an outcome of two things when you're using social media: reputation and network. Because as you're building your reputation and your network, it's through the stories that you're sharing, whether it's on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. people have a reliance on you. They're associating some things that make your brand up, and they're looking at that dependability to say, I'm going to Nancy because I feel that she provides this sort of insight to me when I go to that site or that element of her brand. Now, in the not-so-distant future, and actually the not-so-distant future is now, what's happening is industry is going to change so that your worth will be measured based on reputation. And your reputation is going to be the trust that you've now created within your social networks. Now, social networks aren't only limited to online. There's also a lot of offline community service, a lot of involvement that we'll talk about. But that trust factor is so important moving forward, whether that you're looking at your individual brand or if you're looking at an organizational brand. So, yeah, I talked about marketers trying to do their hoo-ha and make up words, and I come to you with an acronym. But I thought, you know what? Acronyms are important because they help simplify a message so that you can have it generate more impressions in the marketplace, which just means a lot more times, so that it'll drive awareness and hopefully people will make it part of their vernacular. Begin every day, or B, that we're going to be talking about, is the way that you should really look at yourself or your business moving forward if you want to be successful. And this is our views as an organization, but you know, the most important thing is, Mark Twain talks about it, tell the truth. And when I talk about tell the truth, it's really about being honest with yourself. It's not only saying that, no, I need to be honest with business. You need to be honest with yourself. And there's a lot of, we work with a lot of organizations, it's a lot of self-reflection on how the organizations view themselves and how they view individual contributors. Now, you have to ask yourself, do they translate to value enablers? So are they actually giving value to your customer base or your partner base? What are your customers' opportunities? So we talk about needs all the times. In our vocabulary, we look at opportunity. It's not really a need, because a need is really helping marketers kind of fulfill that, okay, we just need to get the sale and move on, or we need to lock this person in so they're always, and it's kind of a negative connotation. So we look at it more as an opportunity. So what opportunities are we capitalizing on with customers to help unlock their potential? And then work does not equal business. Do what you love. And the reason that we say this is that we have a philosophy that we're going to talk about, but there's a lot of discussion around nature versus nurture. And the real premise around this is, what's responsible for your development? Is it a function of your hereditary, your genes, or is it a function of your environment? So I find it interesting that a lot of people, and I think this strip talks really well about it, you always find excuses in terms of why you're not doing something. And that's the nature side of business, right? And then the nurture side of business is that you're going to always blame someone for why you're doing things ineffectively. And there's a very big controversy on which one's right. And I guess our philosophy is that neither is right. It's a combination of the two. So we call it talent utility. And talent is the inherent natural ability that you possess. And utility is, taking that talent and making it useful. So we look at talent utility is your natural ability squared plus your story factor. Yeah, there's the marketers again coming up with the formula. But we think that it makes sense because your natural ability is going to be the thing that differentiates you and makes you special. Now, if you take your story factor, which is your training experience, and align everything, it just unlocks amazing things. And that's not for me to say. I mean, you can see the board here, and there's all these athletes that just do extremely well. Does that mean that the other people that tried so hard weren't effective? No, it's because those people didn't have the natural ability to do wondrous things. And I am Canadian, so I wouldn't forget the great one. But it's important to understand that. And every single individual has a natural ability, and it's important for you to understand what that is. So that's not me telling you now that if you're a great chef, quit your business if you're doing a plumbing business and go open a restaurant. It's more about having a really good self-reflection and saying, what do I love about cooking? Or what do I love about interacting with people? So what's your unique ability? And it could be a variety of things. And this individual, and we're looking at the future leaders of the industry. So I've got a young lady talking about technical aptitude, process management, and quality. Now, don't forget there is a talk tomorrow at 10:30 around attracting future leaders. And hopefully you can all make it. It's a very big topic, and it's something that the industry as a whole needs to, yeah, Nika, that is a shameless self-promotion, but it's important that we really look at what your unique ability is and capitalize on that. So let's say, for instance, this individual's unique ability is technical aptitude. Well, potentially your positioning could be, our organization has the most knowledgeable experts in the field. You now take that and make sure you wrap all of your messaging and your communications around that, because that's what you can do, or your organization can do effectively. So your go-to-market plan could be around your partner profile, attracting individuals that are looking for technically proficient solutions. You have to ask yourself in the marketplace, where do they reside? How do they make decisions, and how can I assist? Now, I know that this seems like very complex, but it's not. And the presentation will be online for everyone. So I know I see some folks taking notes, but it will be online. And as well, we are doing a video of the session. So it'll be posted on all your, look for it on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. No, I'm kidding, not Facebook, LinkedIn. And then how can you assist those individuals? So here's the first one. Be a leader. Get involved. How many people get involved in the market through local committees, associations, and the Board of Trade? You know, show of hands, how many people actually, one of the three? Okay, excellent. Actually, that's pretty good. Answer customer questions through a blog, Quora, or a discussion board. Okay, you've got one individual. Anybody else with blogs, discussion boards? Sharing their insights on, no? Okay. Are you a change agent? So you're doing your daily routine, and you are on the work site, or you're in your daily office environment, or you might be an independent contributor doing something else. And you find out ways on how, oh my gosh, if we could just do this way, it can be so much better. And I'm going to talk about that in terms of a change agent kind of paradigm. But raise your hands. If you really want to be a leader, the first phase is to get involved with the industry. And there's so many associations, but I'm going to highlight the ones that resonate with me. And this is only my, it's not my recommendations, it's only ones that I've got an affinity for. CIPH, HRI, MCAC. Now, these organizations have committees, young executive, technical committees, marketing committees. There's a whole much more variety of committees that you can get involved in. There's no reason why you can't get involved with the associations and try to help change happen and try to actually build your network and your reputation. So talking about being a leader and those individuals that aren't doing a blog or video log, Bethany Moda. Anybody in the audience know who Bethany Moda is? No? No? No teenage daughters, huh? It's just me. Okay, Bethany Moda was 14 when she posted her first first YouTube video. And it was really around wanting girls to feel confident about themselves. That was her genuine cause. What happened, though, was that she got 5.5 million subscribers. Now, what was a result of all this is she became a YouTube sensation in terms of fashion tips. Her mother helped her because she was at 14, but now she's a household brand when it comes to that tween demographic. She's got 200 million views on YouTube. She's got also the most anticipated fashion line by Aeropostale. And I tell you from firsthand experience, because my daughter loves to get Bethany Moda, they're sold out as soon as they hit the stores. This is a 14-year-old that just started to share her insights online. Let's flip to Paddy Pugh. Anybody? No? This is an individual, Swedish, and he just wanted to share insights on video games, doing reviews on video games. He has 25 million subscribers. He's 24 years old, and now he's generating $7 million annually. He's actually recognized as the most popular channel on YouTube. And again, it just started with him sharing his insights on video games. Now, I failed to mention that he also has charitable causes that he's working with the World Wildlife Fund and another organization in terms of healthcare. But these individuals have identified what their natural ability is, and they tried to share their stories or insights with the community at large and unlock their potential. And Gary Vaynerchuk, anyone in the audience? One? Okay, good. Gary inherited a business. It was a liquor business from his parents. Didn't like liquor that much, but he decided to share his insights on wine. So he had a daily video log on wine. He selected 4 and started talking about them, the good, bad benefits. It actually became the most viewed review on alcohol online. I won't go through this, but what's really interesting is that 38 years old, he's a video blogger. He's now got a brand media consultancy. He's a best-selling author. He's got a couple of books. He's got public speaking engagements that are lock solid for a couple of years. And he's the co-owner of that wine retail store that we talked about. But because he decided to identify something that was a passion of his and share it with the community, he identified a whole other market for him to build a brand and a business on. And I know, yeah, Justin Bieber, but he's 20 years old now. But what's interesting with him is 40 million followers on Twitter. Forbes named him the 3rd most powerful celebrity in the world, $55 million a year, and sold 50 million albums. And he's probably not our best export from a reputation standpoint, but what an export in terms of revenue generation. And you know what? He's going to get it straight. But it all started with talent, passion, and a yearning to share his talent with the world. We talked about being a leader and actually bringing your ideas to life. How many people have heard of crowdfunding? 1, 2, a couple of people. This is crowdfunding is where you have ideas and you're given a forum to present those ideas, and then the community at large, being everyone in the world, can decide to support you through monetary donation. So they'll take your idea and they'll add some dollars to it to reach your goal. In this case, because I wanted to keep it relevant here, this is an English company that wanted to come up with a thermostat. They were looking for £20,000 pounds as a goal. And what they did was just put it on Kickstarter, and they got 37 backers, and they got £4,000 already. And all they did was put a video up on a prototype that they had that they wanted to share and bring to market. So with Kickstarter, for instance, it's interesting because you buy the product. So you're helping support the organization so they can bring the product to market, but what you're doing is actually buying the product. So those backers are actually waiting for product. Really amazing in terms of opportunities to look at your business in a different way, or yourself. So what's your story? Death of the traditional salesman. Now, we've heard about this for years, and people talked about, yeah, you know what, solution selling is the way to go. A lot of discussion around, especially from Harvard Business Review, that solution selling is dead. And it's dead for a couple of reasons. Access to information has been unprecedented. You know, we talked about the macro factors of having an educated consumer base. You know, everyone's one Google step away from getting their question answered. So what does that mean? It gives individuals and businesses unprecedented information to start making refined judgments on what their actual opportunity is and what they want in terms of a solution. So now, for traditional salespeople, when they're out there trying to say, okay, well, let me find your solution, well, we've already got the solution. So what it becomes now is a price battle. Now, what do you need to do as an individual equipped with this knowledge to help create effective growth for your company? Be therapeutic. Now, I'm not saying, yeah, you all have to go out and get psych degrees. What I'm saying is that we need to look at every opportunity with a prospect as a discovery session. And what you do in that discovery session is you look at understanding, when you identify the organizations, it's really understanding organizations that are in a state of change, or organizations that are in a cycle that is aligned with what you think your product or services are. You then you need to listen to the situation. You go in there, you know, my dad always says you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you speak half as much as you should, right? Ask probing questions. Get clear understanding of what your customer requires by clarifying the opportunities. So that's just restating what you've heard, just so that everyone in the discovery session understands, hey, you know what? Not only is the individual listening to me, they're actually articulating it in a way that I didn't think of. And then provide insights on the opportunities that the customer's pursuing. So, you know what? I know that you're looking for the solution, and this is what we would do to help with that. And it's really coaching the customer on the purchasing process so they can understand potential pitfalls. It might not turn out into a sale. It might not. But what it's going to do is start solidifying you and building trust from a long-term standpoint so that that customer becomes a partner, and it just builds over time. What's an interesting example is M&M meat shops, and I have a friend that actually owns one. And it was interesting what he told me about this, and it's quite a phenomenon. For those of you that aren't from Canada, M&M is kind of they've got frozen foods that's at your ready, and it's kind of like a retail shop that you can just walk into and just quick pick up and leave. It's and they got chocolate things. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Can we mic him? And then what's interesting is that they have a flyer that goes out. And this flyer goes out periodically. People do their purchasing habits around that flyer. It's a bit like Canadian Tire for us Canadians as well. But what also is done well is that it's consultative. So they start building a rapport with their local community. So when Jeff has customers come in, they become so natural in terms of relationship with them that he'll say, "Oh, you know what, Betty? I didn't realize. You know, we got this cordon bleu, and you should try this, and it's at a great price." And it becomes a relationship. M&M, that's their culture. They've built that as an organization, and for their franchise holders, that's what sets them apart. It's not only the product, but it's actually the way they go to market. And then we offer solutions. So you got to dare to be different and noticeable. How many people are on directories online for their businesses? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3. Actually, that's 4. It's not bad. Get Listed, Angie's List, Yelp, Kijiji, and local advertising we're going to talk about. So Get Listed is a service that unfortunately stopped when I was actually doing this talk. They stopped their services for Canada for a bit because there were some issues. Soon to be released, but basically it's a service where you kind of put your company's name in, and it'll tell you all the free directories that you can actually go on to list your company. It works well for US companies, but in the absence of that, we've got Angie's List, Yelp, Kijiji, and some other local advertising I'll talk about. And why is it important? Localization's key. When you're looking at search engine optimization, or, yeah, I know, another big word, but it's really key if you're looking at research, and I'm going to share some statistics with you in a second. But it's great to be online, but it's important to be found. And the only way that you're going to be found is if you actually start working with the web crawlers that are out there. And one thing that's key is localization. You're going to hear localization a lot. And what's key is getting on directories. It's a free, simple way to start building your company competency online. It's just one of the easiest tactics that you can do. So what does it do? It makes content relevant. It creates stronger connections with people within your community. And it improves your promotional strategy. So if you're doing, for those of you that do coupons, it's a way to actually drive traffic and conversion into the local markets. Here's a resource called info.vilesilencer.com in the absence of Get Listed. This is a great site that actually gives you the top rankings on free directories. Now, Yelp. How many people have heard of Yelp? Many. Excellent. For restaurants, usually? Well, Yelp allows individuals at large, to have ratings on a variety of businesses. One of them is plumbing, and I pulled the plumbing for Toronto. Ideal Plumbing and Drain and F1 Plumbing Services. They've got 5-star ratings, which is very interesting. So you can see on the map there, it actually geolocates the other plumbing companies. Yelp's a great way to get your business out into the market space. And it's allowing you, when you interact with your customers, to start talking about reviews and referrals. Now, the key takeaway there is not to go and overtly ask customers for referrals. What you should do is a soft sell and say, hey, by the way, I'm on Yelp. And if you have a good experience that you'd like to share, we'd implore you that you actually go on Yelp and help us out. So advertise, but don't ask for reviews. I talked about stay in constant contact with the customers. Schedule same-day service. Explain everything to establish trust. Diagnose failures over the phone when possible. And clean up after yourself. Deliver above and beyond customer expectations. And these are, from Yelp, the ways that businesses have been successful in getting 5-star ratings. Now, some of those you're thinking, really? Clean up after myself? I can't tell you the horror stories that I've heard when we're actually doing some research on, especially the perception of the industry in terms of trade not doing that effectively. So, and then diagnose failures over the phone. Really? You're giving up a sale? Absolutely. I'll tell you what, though. We're talking about just the Yelp rating. Someone calls you, and you say, oh, you know what? Did you check X? And that fixes the problem over the phone. That individual is going to go on Yelp and say, I used XYZ Plumbing, and they helped me, and they didn't even ask for a site visit. They are a fantastic company. And Yelp actually has a listing of some companies that have just done that really effectively. Local advertising, community events. You've got charity walks, festivals, holiday events, community publications, and you got networking and partnering opportunities. So how many people are involved in, okay, associations aside, we talked about that, community type events. How many people support the local community? Show of hands? Got a few. Charity walks, in terms of charities, do you actually tap into that? What's important here is you're trying to build a rapport with your community. Those are the individuals that are actually going to help frequent your business and help it grow. By being a good corporate citizen or a good business citizen, or just a good citizen, it helps build that trust and reputation that we're talking about, and it helps solidify that network. Something that you should absolutely look at, and it's a very cost-effective way to get the name out. Community publications, there's many. There's too many to list. What I would suggest is that working with your local board of trade, look at them for resources in terms of what are the good community publications that are out there. And then networking opportunities. The board of trade I talked about, but there's a variety of business opportunities for networking out there. You just need to tap into it, and it's as easy as a Google search. So just look at your local community and do a Google search on what business opportunities there are for networking. Keep it relevant, so be relevant. Yes, like does not equal respect. You know, a lot of companies are going to go out there and say, yeah, you need to, the secret sauce is you need to get 10,000 likes. And that is the tipping point to make you an outstanding business. That is not true at all. Like does not equal respect. And it's just, there's so many ways to drive that inorganically online. What you want to do is ask your audience why they use social platforms. And what you want to do is look at how you can align with their type of behavior to drive positive change. Now, here's a CMPX survey that we've done, and it's really looking at 169 respondents across a variety of roles and how they view social at play and at work. Unbelievable in terms of the opportunity for LinkedIn, believe it or not. We've been talking about LinkedIn for years, but at play, people are using LinkedIn. I mean, at work, sorry. And at Facebook, 11%. And what's the unsung hero is YouTube. The second largest search engine online is YouTube, and it's the most underutilized. So just look at that. And YouTube in terms of looking at play and work, because a lot of people still, when they're at play, they've got an affinity for plumbing or HVAC or cooking. Their careers will kind of carry over to their personal life. So it's something that you should really look at creating a good plan around. Oh. So I got a text message here from bro. Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Mike, I don't know how you did that without touching your phone. There must be an app or something, but I appreciate that. Social is so important. I can't stress it enough. It is the most underutilized platforms for small businesses. And I think the apprehension is that there's so much talk about, oh yeah, you've got to do this in social, you got to do this in social. This is the key success factor. You know what? There is no key success factor. You need to get active and get engaged and understand your prospects and your customers and the partners you want to build relationships with, what they're using. And just align with that and be honest. So here's what social could do for you, though. An example of Emerson Salon. This organization tripled their sales from, they're a hair salon, tripled their sales. Their appointments are fully booked months in advance. They do it all online. It's all done through Facebook and other platforms. And what happens is it becomes part of the entire process. So you book the appointment online, you do the appointment. After the appointment, they share how well the appointment went online, so it just becomes perpetual. And it just becomes an engine for growth. Just something to think about. Small businesses are doing it too. I'm not suggesting that Facebook's your answer. Like I said earlier, you need to look at what would drive an affinity with the audiences that you're trying to engage. Panda and Penguin. Anybody in the audience familiar with Panda and Penguin? You've heard about it? You got one individual. Panda and Penguin are the algorithms that Google uses now for search engine optimization. So marketers would tell you that your search engine marketing strategy should include tactics to optimize Panda and Penguin. All that means is what we talked about before, getting local, using Google authorship, building your website so that it's optimized. And those are all big words. It's really just getting back to basics and simplifying everything that you do. What's important to take note here is this is from the CMPX survey as well. When it comes to research in this industry, it's mostly done online. 60% always use online. That staggered me in terms of understanding the insight there. I thought I would see a lot more from magazines and actually peers. But your peer group and online, combine it both, that's social, right? So something to think about when we're talking about this. It's not just something that's going to be a passing fad. I've heard that. It's here to stay. It's just another tool in your toolbox, and you need to use it effectively to grow your business. So does our market behave differently than our than our customers? Sorry, I don't know why it says thank there. No, it doesn't. Our customers think the same way that we do, and we need to respect that fact and then build our strategies around that. So one quick way of understanding if you're doing well is how many people Google search their name? One individual. Wow. There's some people in this audience that should Google search their name. I'm just telling you, I know you personally. And yeah, no, it's important to Google search your name for a variety of reasons. One of which is understanding how well you're actually building your network that we talked about and your reputation online. The other is just seeing if you're, it's kind of cool to see actually how much abouts you got, like 19,000, 2.27 seconds. It can tell you if you're doing actions every month, if it's actually having an effect on what you're doing online. So it's just a very quick way. For businesses, it's the same thing. With a business, what's interesting to look at is how am I optimizing? We talked about optimization. Here's what's easy about it. Are you breaking up your site into packets so that when people search it, it's going to give you... It was interesting. I'm trying to look for logos for companies. I know companies that have done it very well because Google will actually segregate the logos. Great companies like Apple will actually segregate that logo based on file format. So if I want a PNG file or a JPEG or a bitmap, the images will actually break down into groups of that. Just a way to look at how your business is being viewed, and Google helps give you that insight. You don't need to have tremendous knowledge on Google Analytics or anything. It's as simple as search. So make it easy, and value your customers as if you could lose them today. How many people actually manage their business that way? Respect the opportunity they provide, drive real value with them, and delight them as a matter of course. Now I'm going to talk about the Kano model, and it's some complex thing, but it actually makes a whole lot of sense. And it's based on a couple of axes. The first one is looking at satisfaction. You've got a dissatisfied customer to an elated customer, and you've got a functional to a fully non-functional to a fully functional product or service. Most companies need to be in this quadrant here, which is the must-be's. If you're not there, you have dissatisfied customer. What you want to get into those treasured moments in delighting customers. I'll give you an example of this. How many people can remember, I'm going to date myself now, but 10 years ago, when you go into a hotel room and you had to ask for an iron? Anybody? No? Yeah. When you actually went into a hotel room and you actually saw an iron, you're like over the moon. Now, fast forward 10 years, people are expecting microwave ovens in their hotel room, right? If you don't have a microwave oven, you're like, what's going on? It's how must-be's change into delighters, and delighters change into must-be's. It's something that you need to look at, and it's nothing complex. It's looking at your business, understanding your customer, what are their basic requirements? And I'm going to share with you another way to actually unlock some other ways to unlock delighters. But it's really just making common sense of the business and your approach to the market. What's important is to get to that one-dimensional place, whereas functionality has a direct proportional relationship to satisfaction. So what that means is this action that I do is going to increase customer satisfaction. So it just means that you're becoming efficient. When you do that, that's where social gets capitalized. So when that action, it'll have a direct result online. What's important here to understand as well, this isn't done in a static environment. The market's always changing. Things aren't always equal. Competitive forces push that so that must-be's become delighters very quick. So again, you need to not only look at how I'm doing business and how my business is working with my customers, you need to look at how your competitors are doing business and how they're changing business, how that might have an effect on the marketplace as well. Here's some interesting companies. TUI. Anybody heard about TUI? No? They're a European travel company. Here's what's amazing. How many people have been on vacation and then they're like, you know what? I need to change my travel plans. I want to stay an extra day. And you kind of are really torn whether or not you want to do that because you know there's going to be an increased charge, right? And the hotel might say, yeah, well, we're booked and it's going to have to. And it becomes a nightmare. What TUI does is they send you a text message 2 days before you're about to leave and say, would you like to change your travel plans? It'll be done complimentary, and we'll take care of all your airfare as well. That's done as a matter of fact and a matter of way of doing business with them. And what's interesting is that they call their customers guests, and they live by that ideal. Here's another interesting example. It's an IT company, and it's LifeRay. Now, they create an open source platform, but how they built their business is that when they're looking at new opportunities to build an office complex, they go to underprivileged markets. Because what they try to do, and the CEO lives by this, is not only build the office, but the surrounding community, help bring that community up by hiring within that community and helping train them. They live by this because they feel that it's an open source environment. Their solution can be changed by any of their customers, and that's how they grow. It's a fundamentally different way of looking at business, but it's one that's shaping the way the business is going to be viewed in the future, and something that's an interesting way to look at even small business or yourselves as individuals. There's a lot of acronyms in terms of financial measurements around, right? And every agency will tell you that this is the one that you need to look at. They're all lying. There is not one measurement that's going to tell you that this is definitively the way that you should manage your business. What's important, though, is the customer experience. Because the customer experience drives what your future growth is going to be. It's bottom line. How many people understand what a moment of truth is? Moment of truth? They've heard the concept? Excellent. Those of you that don't understand it or haven't heard of it before, a moment of truth is a point in your business process where you interact with your external market and your customer. That point, that customer can draw a positive or negative relationship perception of your business. So those points of contact is where you need to be very critical of your business and how you're managing customer relationships. Could I actually make this better for my customer? Is there an opportunity for me to actually make them delighted? Something to think about. And how can I make every interaction delightful I talked about? But it's as simple as looking at it this way. And I looked at a customer wanting to renovate. There's a need, there's planning, there's a short list, there's buying and building and enjoyment. The first half of that cycle is the inspiration and choice selection, and the second half is the customer relationship. So if you could look at, let's say you did this exercise and this is the activity cycle that I did. Now as a business owner, what you do is you look at what solutions can I do to help engage and facilitate that customer through their decision-making process. Because what that allows me to do is drive true value to that customer, making them a partner. And there's a variety of ways to do that. Now, I just put these as examples. These are not the gospel at all, but they're just suggestions that you could, in terms of looking at a need, look at print, look at web, look at trade shows to try to help facilitate that. When it comes to planning, there's brochures and there's social. Buying, there's a vehicle in terms of how you actually go to the customer site. There's actually the uniform of how you're presenting yourself. And then when it comes to building, there's a certification that you could potentially promote. And the enjoyment, which is the social factor. So let's look at IKEA, for instance. Thinking about renovating, looking for inspiration, deciding on options, purchasing the product, setting up the product, and enjoying it home. And what IKEA does is it's brilliant. They start TV advertising and radio and social, just trying to get people engaged and excited about IKEA. Then what happens when you're looking for that inspiration? That catalog shows up at your house. And you're like, hey, you know what? I think I want to change this room. You then decide on your options, and you go to the store. And the store is just a walkthrough in terms of what the opportunities could be for you to design your home. And then you have the designers that can help design the home and the room for you. And then you get to self-checkout, because there's no pressure of a salesperson. You just go through there and decide to select what you want. It's just a hassle-free environment. And then for the time-starved people that have kids, there's a daycare that they provide. And if it's an all-day event, then they actually have a restaurant so they can feed you at a low cost. It just makes everything simple for you to capitalize on the opportunity they're providing to you. The other one is buying a Starbucks coffee. Starbucks is great. They look at needing a beverage, deciding on the options, waiting for your beverage, enjoy the product, and then think about the next experience. Starbucks didn't start off with TV advertising, but now they're actually doing a very large push on TV advertising and a lot of print. But their storefront is what people look for. You then decide on options. There's a variety of complementary products when you're waiting for that option in that lineup. They've now got sandwiches, they've got a variety of cold beverages, they've got mints, they've got CDs that you're listening to. They've got everything to make you wait and feel happy. And then when you get to that counter, you feel even more happy because you're going to get the coffee or the beverage how you want, when you want it, and then it's the way you like it. And it makes you feel great too, because you're speaking a language that it sounds foreign, but it's really not. And it just gives you this sense of being part of the Starbucks family. And then as you're waiting for that beverage, as the barista is actually putting it together, you look on the counter and there's the iTunes app or Song of the Week. That's complimentary, by the way, so that you can now take that home and remember that Starbucks gave you another value add as being a valued partner in their organization. Just a simple way to get a customer and delight them. And then, oh, by the way, we give you a free Wi-Fi and a relaxing environment. I can't tell you how many business meetings are done at Starbucks now for small business companies. And you know why? Because they now use Starbucks as an extension of their brand and of their business. That's true partnership. That's changing the game. So you have to ask yourself, and this was interesting, I actually took this picture because I was at Starbucks actually getting ready for this talk, and I got my cup. And talking about driving to the next experience, well, the sleeve on the cup talks about Starbucks True North Blend. Have you tried it yet? Guess what? I'm going to think about trying the True North Blend next time I actually go to Starbucks. Now, it's subtle, but it's really looking at helping meet your needs and then actually engaging you in a very effective way to take you to the next experience. Here's what, I always thought that 12 years ago that I saw this in a magazine article, but I think that I might have just made this up. But it's actually a really good story. Starbucks business plan. This is what the individuals at Starbucks were sitting down when they were planning their business and they were thinking about it. And they're like, today, cup of coffee, $1.35. Tomorrow, cup of coffee, $4.75. Achievable. That's it. That was the business plan. And what they did was they built an experience around that to get the $4.75, and they've done it. Not only have they done it, a lot of the elements that they've put into their business have even been embraced by our tried and true Tim Hortons, from the coffee to go to the way that they actually are trying to customize solutions for their customer. So, I love my company. Are you transparent? Do you walk the talk? Live your positioning. So that positioning that we talked about on your natural ability or what your company's made up of, do you live it? When mistakes happen, are you honest? When unable to meet your customers' opportunities with the current solutions, be open about it. It's a collaborative conversation that you're trying to have with your customers, and being genuine is going to make you that much more successful because they appreciate that. It's that trust factor. So one company that's fantastic at this, believe it or not, is the Golden Arches. And I say that because they had a lot of controversy in terms of pink meat and all the other stuff that was going on with them. So they became transparent. You have a question on our company? Post it and we'll answer it. Well, they've had 16,000 questions asked since they've launched this. These are Canadian numbers. 10,000 questions have been answered. McDonald's trust score increased 20% as a result. Trust score is the new customer satisfaction index. It's how your reputation is managed in the marketplace. So trust is key. I talked to you about trust being the future. 20% trust score increase is unprecedented. But it was as simple as, you've got a question on our company? We'll answer it. We'll be transparent. Authentic. Help even if there's no sale. I talked about that. Your customer is more than a sale. Build a lifelong partnership. That's so key. And I'm going to share with you an example from one of my past lives. And it was, I was working with Walmart as a business development manager for ICI Paints. And everyone in the paint industry hated Walmart. They're like, Walmart sucks. They're killing the industry. Well, we looked at Walmart and said that Walmart doesn't suck. They actually have a different consumer profile. And if you look at that consumer profile, how can we help that consumer profile enable them with our paint solutions? And the interesting thing, when you're doing a retail store check, for those of you that are in the consumer goods industry, the quickest way to understand the consumer demographic breakdown of a retailer is look at the cars in the parking lot. If you look at the cars and there's only American cars, you kind of know the demographic breakdown. But if you at a Walmart, you've got Mercedes, BMW, Chevrolet, Chrysler, Kia, Honda. It crosses all boundaries. So understanding that, we really started looking at the consumers. We took busloads of consumers and took them to Rona, Walmart, Home Depot, Canadian Tire, and then told them to shop. Just said, okay, why? You're going to go buy paint. Why are you going to go buy paint? And we also did this. It was a Saturday morning. We broke the females and the males up. We're like, shop. And we videotaped them and understood what they were doing. And we found out a few interesting facts. And we built a product line, go-to-market around this. And it was trying to understand the consumer as a lifelong partner. Now, it's really sad because this life cycle is actually the life cycle of an individual, so that's sad. But yeah, it is cradle to grave. You need to understand that. The first one was being a fair. Like, you're starting into the market. You've got your own room. Let's say you're 16. I want to paint my room myself. This is my independence, and I want to do it. We knew that we need to come up with a fair solution that was really well priced, that had good quality paint, that a teenager could start painting their room with. And we launched the private label brand for Walmart, Color Place. We then looked at that individual then moving on to college or the individual having their first home, and they're time-starved. They're either studying or they're too social to actually look at paint swatches and trying to go. And so what we did was we actually put a pre-tinted paint together. So it was Glidden Color to Go, and basically had a design palette every season that we would align with the textiles in the store so that you can mix and match, and you pick up your paint and you're gone because you don't have to wait for the infamous Walmart paint tinter that's never around. So again, that time-starved, we talked to it. And then we got to family-friendly, because now you've moved from college or you've got a significant other and you've built a family. What was important is environment. So we looked at low VOC, so volatile organic compounds. We wanted to eliminate that, so we launched a paint for that. There's also another paint which was super washable flat. So basically crayons, you can wash it off. And it was really around the family-friendly. And then empty nesters, or you've got a more stable family environment, you've got a discerning taste now. So it was really looking at our product lineup and trying to make it align with what the Walmart consumer needs were. And it was highly effective. And it's actually a format that's been used in the US and globally ever since. So success. And we're talking about this infamous silver bullet. Well, there's no such thing as a silver bullet. People will tell you, and I think I've told you throughout the talk, that, yeah, you've got to do this, or you've got to do this, or you've got to do this. There is no single thing that you've got to do. They're all interrelated. They're all integrated. So it's important to be integrated. And we've got a philosophy called the Honeycomb Effect. And basically what it is to understand, let's say, for instance, with the bee, all the other elements of Begin Every Day are interrelated. So it's not just, you need to be genuine and that's it. You've got to do everything together. So how many people heard about the 4 Ps and the 5 Ps and the marketing? I did a marketing course. Well, pee off. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Gabe. There is no such thing as the 4 Ps and I'll tell you why. Because there's now studies there's from 4 to 22 Ps. You know what? Just do things that make sense. The Ps were put there for categories so marketers can look brilliant, and it helps. It does help with planning. But at the end of the day, for a small business person, you don't need to worry about that. So for the corporate side, yeah, you know what? It helps us categorically trying to do things. For a small business owner, just look at your business like this. ABC Inc. Sorry. ABC Inc. Let's say you've got brochures, advertisements, displays, trade show booth, and vehicle. You've got to make sure that there's consistency throughout all those mediums, through tone, messaging, and imagery. What do I mean by that? When I talk about tone, it's about, I've got the positioning of the technical expertise as our differentiator, and we want to be the experts in the market. What's the tone that we want to go to the market with? Are we going to be fun? Are we going to be sophisticated? Are we going to be fresh and innovative? That's, when we talk about tone, that's what we need to understand. That's the voice that we're going to the marketplace with. That tone helps build your message. So based on the tone you selected, your messaging then becomes easier. So this is where the true art of marketing comes in. And it's really looking at that message that's created, and then the imagery that supports that message. Because a message and a story can't be told with just words alone. There's got to be imagery that supports it. So the imagery helps create the story around what your company's all about. And it's as simple as that. So in review, top 10, be truthful, be a leader, be therapeutic, be noticeable, be relevant, be valuable, be consistent, transparent, authentic, and integrated. So what's next? That's a lot of B's, right? I've got to begin every day with all that. So what do I do next? It's very simple. I want you to go back to your business and take a hard look at them. I want you to identify who's your true audience. You need to understand what's unique about your business and yourself. You need to understand what you're trying to achieve as well, because you as an individual have goals and you need to make sure that you're going to meet those. What's your approach? So that's where the B's come in. That's where your beginning every day comes in. Do you know what your customers' opportunities are? Have you had discovery sessions with your customer? Do you know that? Can you find research online? And take swings. I mean, we talk about it all the time. There's no way you're going to increase your batting average if you don't swing. So swing for the fences. And most importantly, tell your story. So that's my talk. And hopefully that you found it enlightening. But I'm available through Twitter, LinkedIn, or please visit my blog. And if there's time, we've got some questions. Anyone have any questions? No questions? Great. Well, thank you again. Thank you for your time.